You showed up every time they needed you. You defended them when no one else did. You gave your time, your energy, your loyalty, without being asked twice. And somewhere along the way, without any announcement, they stopped saying thank you. They stopped noticing. They started expecting. And the moment you gave less than usual, suddenly you were the problem. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this pattern in human nature with brutal clarity. He called it one of the most predictable dynamics in all of human relationships, and once you understand exactly how it works, you will never be trapped inside it again. Stay until the final lesson, because that one will change the way you give your loyalty to anyone, forever. Here is the first thing most people never realize. Loyalty that never has a limit trains people to expect no limit. Think about it. Every time you showed up without being asked, you set a standard. Every time you gave more than was required, you raised the floor of what they expected from you. Nietzsche called this the problem of giving without conditions. When you give without conditions, you do not build gratitude. You build assumption. An assumption is the beginning of entitlement. It is brutal, but it is human. The person who takes you for granted was not born ungrateful. They were trained, by your consistency, to expect your presence as a given. Drop a comment right now if someone in your life went from grateful to expecting without you ever agreeing to that change. I read every single one. Here is where it gets darker, and this is the part most people are never told. The more loyal you are, the less valuable the loyalty becomes to them. Not because they are evil, because of how people actually work. Nietzsche understood this through the idea of scarcity and power. Anything given without limit loses its value. Your loyalty was rare when they first received it. After months or years of consistent, unconditional presence, it became ordinary. And ordinary things are not appreciated. They are simply used. And this is where most people get it wrong. They respond by giving more, trying to remind the person what they have, when the actual move is the opposite. Here is sign 3, and this one is the hardest to accept. The moment you pull back even slightly, they do not respond with appreciation. They respond with accusation. Suddenly you are selfish, cold, different. Think about it. Nietzsche said this is the exact moment that reveals the truth of the relationship. The person who responds to your pulling back with guilt and accusation was never grateful for what you gave. They were dependent on it. And dependence dressed in the language of loyalty is not loyalty. It is ownership. The person who calls you selfish for finally choosing yourself was the one being selfish the entire time. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Because some people are still apologizing for things they should never have to apologize for. Sign 4. They stopped giving back and genuinely do not notice. This is the most revealing sign of all. When someone becomes truly entitled to your loyalty, the gap between what you give and what they give becomes invisible to them. They are not choosing not to give back. They simply no longer see the gap. Nietzsche called this the blindness of the person who keeps receiving. The person who receives consistently stops seeing the receiving. It becomes their normal. And normal things do not create gratitude. They create the expectation of more. Sign 5, and this is where the real damage happens. They start using your loyalty against you. Your history of showing up becomes the evidence they use to demand more. You have always been there for me. You have never said no before. I do not understand why this is suddenly a problem. Nietzsche was precise about this. The loyal person's past becomes a trap built from their own consistency. Every yes you gave becomes a reason the current no is unreasonable. Your record of loyalty is the weapon being used against you. That changes everything. 4 things to do right now. 1. Make your loyalty conditional. Not cruel. Conditional. Give it to people who show they value it. Pull it back from people who have shown they simply expect it. 2. Introduce scarcity deliberately. Not as punishment. As a reality check. The person who stopped noticing your presence will not value it until it is no longer guaranteed. 3. Watch the response when you pull back. Real care responds with concern. Entitlement responds with accusation. That response tells you everything about what the relationship actually is. 4. Stop using history as a reason to keep going. The fact that you have always been there is not a reason to keep being there. Loyalty is earned right now, not owed because of the past. Here is the truth. Your loyalty was never the problem. The absence of limits around it was. The strong mind gives loyalty like a resource, not like a reflex. It is given to those who prove they can carry it, and withdrawn, without guilt, from those who simply learn to consume it. Drop the word enough in the comments right now if this video named a situation you have been living in. I want to see how many people needed to hear this today. Subscribe now if you want to keep understanding the real mechanics of human behavior, because the people who learn these patterns stop being used by them.